All right, hello everybody. Welcome back again to Ultra Kellen Real Estate. As always, thank you to all subscribers, people who've liked the channel, people who send me DMs, people who send me messages, telling me how much they like the content. So, one of my last videos, I talked about being a Section 8 landlord and what it's like living with your Section 8 tenants. For those of you guys who didn't catch that video, I've been a Section 8 landlord for 11 years now, and I've always have lived with my tenants. So either from Catholic Charities or either from Section 8, it's pretty much the same thing, but I've always lived with my tenants. So I kind of wanted to do like a little mini series, titled Section 8 Chronicles, where I'm kind of detailing my different interactions with different tenants. And so, for the first kind of story, my Section 8 Chronicles, this one is kind of funny. It's kind of like the first, I guess, like beef I had with a tenant who was living with me. So I was still pretty young when this happened. This had to be maybe 2012, maybe 2013. So this tenant, she was actually one of the original tenants that I had when I bought the property. So when I bought the property, I already had tenants, and she was still living there when I bought it, and she stayed for a couple years after I bought the property. So truth be told, she was not a bad tenant, at all. I mean, she was kind of, what people may think of when they think of Section 8. She was kind of ghetto, single mom, blah, blah, blah. She was super hood. But she was a nice lady. She was nice to me. Never had any issues with her. She would speak to me all the time. I would speak to her. I could say a few jokes to her. She would joke with me. It was all good. So one day it was summertime, and so maybe like July of like 2012, give or take. And so I'm outside the building, maybe I'm mowing the lawn or doing something, and she yells down to me from her window. Her window faces the front lawn where I was mowing it, and she says something to me about something with ComEd. ComEd is the power provider, for electricity for most of the Chicagoland area. So she says something about, this ComEd bill and, this and that. And she says, for some reason, she might get cut off. And, I'm like, all right, this is none of my business. I really don't know why you're telling me. I think maybe at that time, maybe they did not have smart meters. So maybe she thought I was going to, block the ComEd guy from coming in the building and cut her off, which I was not going to do, and so that happened maybe mid-July. Now fast forward maybe about 5 days later, I'm in my unit, this actual unit that I'm standing in right now. I'm in this unit, and as you see, I have carpet, and I'm actually vacuuming my carpet. So this is a normal day. I had to vacuum, so I'm vacuuming my carpet. Out of nowhere, I'm vacuuming, and the vacuum cuts off. Now I have had it happen before where if I have the AC running, the vacuum going, I got music playing, I got a light on, it's too much and my circuit breaker pops and I have to go back into the room and push it back in. So I have a room next to my kitchen that I have access to from my unit that goes to where the furnaces are, and that's also where the laundry is, and that's where the boxes for the circuit breaker are. So there's two doors to get into that room. There's a door from my unit, and there's a door from the back stairwell of the other units. So I'm thinking, all right, no big deal. I guess my circuit breaker popped. I got too much going on. It was hot outside, so I'm vacuuming. I had the AC going. So I go into the room thinking all I have to do is push my circuit breaker back in and the vacuum cut back on. I see a long extension cord going from the outlet over the dryer and the washer, going up the stairs and snaking around into this lady's unit. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, yo, is she using electricity from the laundry room to power her whole apartment? So I guess somehow, I don't know, maybe we did have smart meters back then, but I guess ComEd cut her off. So I was like, all right, I'm 23, 24 years old. This is my first really problem I have to deal with a tenant. I'm like, all right, what do I do? So I call my dad. My dad's been in real estate. Ask my dad for advice. I call my dad. He starts laughing at me. Literally, just busts out laughing over the phone. Ha ha, welcome to the world. Hope you have fun. Figure it out. Like, oh, okay. All right, so I take her extension cord because now her extension cord is causing my apartment to not run right. So I take her extension cord and I roll it up and I put it by her back door. And I wrote a polite little note saying, hey, Miss So-and-so, you can't do that. One, it's against the rules. And then two, you're also causing a shortage in my apartment. And who knows? I don't want a fire to start. So I rolled up her extension cord so she can't use the power from the room anymore. And then it was like clockwork. I knew it was going to happen. I think I had to leave the building and go somewhere. And then, I get a phone call later that night. Mr. McFarland, I am not a little kid. Why did you lock the door? Then you roll my cord up and put it back by, da 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 da. And I'm getting cussed out left and right. I'm like, all right. I'm like Miss Johnson. And this is why I learned being a landlord. you could be petty back and forth with them if you want to. Like, clearly I'm younger than all of them, and like, I'm doing decently financial life. I could have been petty right back. She's like, she said I pay rent here. I could have been like, first off, you don't pay rent. The government of the state of Illinois pays your rent. You actually don't pay anything. Actually, her portion for her rent was actually zero. Like zero. She didn't pay $1 to live in this building. Section 8 paid everything for her. And she wasn't living bad because I went to her unit and she had stuff in there. She wasn't sleeping on the floor. And she had a nice little Ford Mustang that she drove that was newer than my car. So she wasn't struggling. I don't know how she figured it out, but she was doing something. So I'd get cussed out, whatever. Sometimes as a landlord, you got to have the end game in mind. And the end game is you do want to get along with your tenants, especially if you live in the same property as them. So I said, okay, all right, like, I says, hey, you can't do that. Like, I gotta keep the door locked. You have to figure out whatever you have to figure out with ComEd to get your bill paid. And I don't know, like, but you can't pilfer electricity from the entire building to run your AC, to run your, and also to have your TV going and to have your fridge going. So after she cusses me out, maybe like a day or two goes by, and I guess she paid whoever and got her power back on. So I made sure I was the bigger person, even though I wasn't in the wrong. I don't feel like at all because you can't do that. I actually physically wrote her a note. I might even actually gave her a card. Actually, I might have wrote her a card saying, "Hey, I apologize." Like, but just you just can't do that. Like, you can't So one of the things I'll talk about in another video is kill them with kindness, and that's what I did. Like, I just killed her with kindness. Said, "Hey, sorry about this. Like, I'm just sorry, but like, you just can't do that. What you did." And she called me back maybe a day after I gave her the card, or I put it like underneath her door, and she apologized as well. And that was that. So but she was a good tenant. If I had 1,500, Miss So and So's who was maybe a little bit hood, but like she didn't cause any commotion really. Like maybe some loud music, maybe some weed smoking, but like nothing too crazy. And Section 8 paid everything for her, meaning that she paid $0 to live in my building. I'll take those all day, every day, because you're guaranteed to get your money. All right. So as always, keep on tuning in for more information. Ultra Kellen on Instagram, UltraKellon. And I have some more Section 8 Chronicle stories coming up. Trust me, I got tons of them. I got stories for days. All right. Keep on tapping in, guys. Talk to you soon.